back to another episode of The Daily O. I'm Alex Tusky. Let's get into our show. This week has been unlike any other with the election on Tuesday, and we are currently still waiting on results from Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Georgia, Nevada, and Alaska. In Pennsylvania, Biden took the lead over Trump by about 13,000 votes just a few hours ago. They will be recounting about 29,000 votes that the court ordered to be separated and recounted in a county in Pittsburgh, and those will be counted starting at 8 p.m. tonight. Currently in Nevada, Biden leads by about 20,000 votes, and they have approximately 150,000 late-arriving mail-in ballots, and they are expected to have those counted by this weekend. In Arizona, Biden is leading by more than 43,000 votes with a little more than 220,000 votes still to count. Trump would need 60% of these ballots to flip the state red. We should hopefully know more around 8 p.m. tonight. A recount has already been called in Georgia, where Biden is currently just slightly ahead. There were 2,000 absentee votes rejected that voters still have time to cure as well. And in North Carolina, no results are expected until sometime next week. Mail-in ballots can be received up until November 12th. However, hopefully we have a winner declared sometime this weekend. We have a package with more details on that for you now.
The race to the White House is nearing the finish line. As the number of uncounted ballots has dwindled, Democratic nominee Joe Biden is within striking distance of the 270 electoral votes needed to take the presidency, now leading in the critical battleground state of Pennsylvania, while protests continue on both sides.
We the people know what's going on in this country. We know that this is a plot, this is a coup against President Trump.
Trump's team made it clear they will contest the election. In a statement Friday, Trump saying, "We will pursue this process through every aspect of the law to guarantee the American people have confidence in our government. I will never give up fighting for you and our nation." Meanwhile, Biden's campaign said this: "The American people will decide this election, and the United States government is perfectly capable of escorting trespassers out of the White House." Also today, the vote counts continue in key states, delayed by a record flood of mail-in ballots.
While some, including the president, continue to spew baseless claims of fraud, claims for which his team has not produced one iota of evidence, what we have seen here in Philadelphia is democracy, pure and simple.
So as I said before, hopefully we will have a winner declared sometime in the upcoming days. Make sure to stay tuned to the news to keep all the updates with that. This semester, OSU students have had more mental health struggles than semesters previously. Reporter Yvonne Wong has more on university counseling services.
Unfortunately, in this fall semester, a couple of OSU students have taken their own lives. The COVID-19 pandemic definitely added additional stress to our daily lives. The university counseling services have gone fully online this semester, but they are still offering the help you need. Kelsey Butkowski, a graduate counselor, provided tips on how to take care of yourself.
One thing that's really important all the time is self-care. So just like making that special time for yourself to always just really obviously self-care, take care of you. And that looks like just different for every single person. So if watching your favorite Netflix show or playing with your dog, taking a bubble bath, listening to music. There's like all kinds of things that maybe we do without even realizing it, just making sure that we set aside the time to engage in those activities.
Even though they are working from home, you can still call them to talk to an on-call counselor. And if you feel like someone is not acting right, care for them.
To like look for and notice with the people that you care about is definitely like them losing interest in things that they used to really enjoy doing. If they are kind of withdrawing, not really, just kind of not acting like themselves. If they were a more social person, not wanting to hang out with friends, family, just being as encouraging as possible to that person. Maybe sending some of those resources their way.
UCS have also created a mental health podcast that talks about different topics. There's also a Q&A video about mental health.
If you are ever feeling anxious, depressed, or you need to talk to someone, you don't have to leave your home to look for help. Please contact the University Counseling Services for more information. For Yokkali News, I'm Yvonne Wong.
If you are struggling and need help, you can visit ucs.okstate.edu to learn more. Next, Dylan Walker catches us up on entertainment news from this past week.
Hello everyone, I hope you guys all had a great weekend and a great Friday. A lot of exciting stuff happened this weekend, even with the elections going on, so let's get into it. Gucci has announced that they are hosting a virtual film and fashion festival called Gucci Fest. It is set to take place later this month. A-listers Harry Styles, Billie Eilish, and Florence the Machine are attending the festival, but whether they are performing or appearing as models has yet to be announced. Of course, many other high-profile figures will also be at the event, lasting from November 16th to the 22nd. Camila Cabello and Shawn Mendes introduced their adorable new puppy named Tarzan. The couple shared their adorable and exciting news over an Instagram post of a video of Camila cuddling the puppy in the backseat of a car. Next, NBA star Lamar Odom released that him and his ex-personal trainer fiancée Sabrina Parr will not be following through with their engagement. Parr posted on the news over an Instagram story. In the past, she said that this decision was the best for her and her children. She continues to wish him the best, however. Beyoncé's new Ivy Park collection was also just released and features some collabs with Adidas. The new line consists of activewear, shoes, and accessories coming in a wide variety of sizes. However, if you guys are interested in getting some new clothes, you better act fast because her product is almost completely sold out. Ariana Grande just released her 6th album titled Position, consisting of 14 songs and features collabs with The Weeknd, Doja Cat, and Ty Dolla $ign. Grande stated that this album has been one of her favorites and she can't wait for it to be yours. Positions has been Ariana Grande's 3rd album release following 2018's Sweetener and 2019's Thank You Next. That's all of the tea I have for you today, folks. Thanks so much for watching The Spill with Dylan. I hope you guys feel in the loop with everything entertainment, and I'll see you next Friday.
Thanks, Dylan. Make sure to watch next week to catch up on all things entertainment news. Now for our weather for this upcoming week. So today was a really nice day outside with a high of 75 and the low tonight will be 53. Tomorrow is a great day for football if only the Cowboys were playing here with a high of 77 and the low of 56 tomorrow night. Sunday, partly cloudy with a high of 56. Stays pretty warm with a low of 62. Monday, again, another warm day on campus, high of 77, low of 58. Tuesday, it drops down a little bit with the high of 62 and then getting close to freezing with a low of 37 Tuesday night. Wednesday, high of 67 and another lower low of 42. And then Thursday, it's not going to be a great day to be outside, high of 64 and rainy. So overall, pretty good week of weather coming up compared to last week with the ice storm. Next, we'll take a quick break and we'll be right back with sports.
Hi, I'm Will Joyce, the Mayor of Stillwater. As mayor, it's my responsibility to help develop plans for a variety of resident needs, including roads, emergency services, and utilities. Some of those services are paid for with federal money that the government distributes to states and communities based on Census Bureau data. This is your tax money coming back to our community, but if you or your household aren't counted, we lose nearly $1,200 per person to places like Texas, Kansas, and Arkansas. So help bring that money back to local communities by filling out the 2020 census. This year, it's easy to do. You'll receive a postcard in March 2020 with a unique code for your address. Using that code, simply go online, call, or request a paper copy of the census and fill it out. I want to make sure that you and your whole household are counted in the 2020 census. It's important not just to Stillwater, but to all of Payne County.
Welcome back to the Daily O. I'm Karsten Melton, and today we are joined by Ryan Breeden, an Ocala sports writer. How you doing, Ryan?
Doing good, Karsten. Good to be here. Talk about some sports.
Well, Ryan, there was a game last Saturday.
There definitely was a game
against Texas. How did the game go? What did you see from your perspective?
I felt like Coach Gundy in his interviews this week said it best. It all comes down to turnovers, special teams, and just execution. And when you don't do those things, especially early in the year, you're probably not going to win the game. And that's ultimately what ended up happening.
So there's definitely a lot of bad things to talk about from that game, especially with the loss and the turnovers. But what were some highlights or some good takeaways that you saw?
Oh, I definitely had some. The number one that I'm going to have is the defense. Even though Texas scored, I want to say 41.
Yeah, it was 41-34.
If you think about it, there was 3 turnovers in that game. Of the 4 turnovers, 3 of the turnovers gave Texas the ball deep inside Oklahoma State territory. So the best that the defense can do in that situation is limit things to a field goal, which they did 2 out of the 3 times, which is all you can ask for. And then the kickoff return touchdown also. So if you just do the math, I mean, when I thought about it at the end of the game, the Oklahoma State defense really only gave up 2 legitimate touchdown drives to the Texas offense, and that's really good. And the other one I'm going to say is, it kind of goes without saying at this point, Tylan Wallace is just a man amongst boys.
A freak of nature. So Cowboys have a big game coming up this Saturday, taking on Kansas State in Manhattan. What are you looking forward to in this game?
I'm looking for Spencer Sanders to bounce back. I know a lot of people have been unhappy with him in terms of his turnovers and stuff, which I understand. The only thing I'll say to that is Spencer Sanders presents such a playmaking option at quarterback. He's so dynamic. He made a lot of, even though he had 4 turnovers, or he had 3 of the 4 turnovers. Even though he had 3 turnovers in the game against Texas, people don't realize he had 400 yards and 4 touchdowns, and he made so many plays with his legs and with extending plays, going out of the pocket, making good throws on the run. That's something that he presents, and I want to see him bounce back and stay poised and not let those things get to his head.
K-State's not a team to joke about. They have 2 losses on their record, the first loss being to Arkansas State to open up their season.
Yes.
And then last week they lost 37-10 to West Virginia at West Virginia. So they were ranked 16th going into that game against the Mountaineers, and now they're not ranked. Right. So both the Cowboys and the Wildcats are coming off of a loss. What do you think is the dynamic going to be between these 2 teams tomorrow?
I think Oklahoma State is in a lot better position to win the game than Kansas State is, because Kansas State lost Skylar Thompson for the season, and he was a humongous part of what made them click. And so they now have, the name's escaping me, their backup quarterback, though, he did not do very well against
He
West
has
Virginia.
been scoring an average of 4 touchdowns against conference opponents. So that's something to note. And then, but last, as you're saying, he threw 3 interceptions to West Virginia.
He had a bad game. But so that's the thing I'm going to look at. I think the biggest dynamic to look at is just Kansas State's offense with that quarterback we were talking about against Oklahoma State's defense, and just seeing if they can force turnovers, because the defense didn't force any turnovers last weekend. But I think it is so crucial for them to force turnovers, and that's the biggest key in my eyes.
Yeah, that's really big. How Kansas State ended up, beating Oklahoma was they forced a lot of turnovers on Spencer Rattler. You have a score prediction for us, Ryan?
I think that I think this team still realizes that the goals are still in front of them and that they can achieve things. I think they're going to bounce back. It'd be easy to think that they may kind of let that loss get to them and whatever that they had last weekend, but I think they're going to come back strong. And I'm going to go 40-27 40-24, Oklahoma State.
So looking ahead past this game, because of that Texas loss, that puts Oklahoma State, the safety net for, the Big 12 championship and potentially the playoffs is gone now.
Right.
How important is this win tomorrow?
Oh, it's everything. I mean, if they win against Kansas State, despite the loss last weekend, it puts them back in first place in the conference. So they'll be in a good spot going forward if they can win this game.
All right, well, thank you so much for sitting down with us, Ryan. I had a chance to talk with the team this week. Here's a package with more info on that for you guys now. Oklahoma State has a very important game tomorrow. The Cowboys travel to Manhattan, Kansas to take on the Kansas State Wildcats. The team is coming off of a disappointing loss to the Texas Longhorns, 41-34 in overtime. Going into that game, the team was ranked 6th in the nation and has now dropped to 14th. Although that was a tough loss for the team, the Cowboys are hopeful for the rest of the season and encourage fans not to give up on them.
This is going to be a long ride. You got to stick with us through thick and thin. Obviously you don't want any losses. You don't want games like that. But, this team is tightly knit, and, we're still going for something special, and it's not over yet. So just stick with us. Something special is coming.
Spencer Sanders has had a tough first 2 games of his return after recovering from his high ankle sprain. Although he had 400 yards and 4 touchdowns against the Longhorns, Sanders also threw an interception and fumbled the ball during a pass-off to running back Chuba Hubbard. Sanders has been incredibly hard on himself these last 2 weeks, but his teammates and coaches are still confident in his ability to recover and win the rest of the season because of his humility and ability to admit his mistakes.
Those type of people, you just have to be supportive of them. I know after the game yesterday when we came in, we worked out, he was down. He kind of hung his head because he felt like the mistakes that he had made had lost us the game. And that's one of those things where you have to reiterate to him, it's not a one-person game. It's not I lost the game. You win as a team, you lose as a team.
This isn't going to be an easy win for the Cowboys, and the players and coaches know this. Coach Gundy has said throughout the week how talented the Wildcats are and that this game will present new challenges for the Cowboys. Fans should look for the first drive of the game for Oklahoma State to make a statement and come back hungry for a win.
The first drive to me will be a statement drive. And to me, that's kind of how I'll look at it, and how I'll take it is how we're going to respond. And to me, the biggest message around here, the team that everyone, Coach Gundy, Coach Dunn, everybody, the entire staff, all the players and everything is when we come out against K-State, we prove not only to ourselves but everybody else that we're much better than what we played last week.
The Cowboys need to win tomorrow to get back their momentum moving into the last half of their season. Kickoff is at 3 p.m. at Kansas State. You can watch live on Fox Sports. Be sure to tune in here for our pregame show at 2 p.m. For the Daily O, I'm Alex Dusky. All right, well, we're going to take a quick commercial break, and when we come back, Carson will continue with more sports.
Welcome back to sports. I'm Karsten Melton, and let's get this underway. Another event that took place this week was the Kissing Tree Invitational in San Marcos, Texas. Taya Sappington gives us a look at how the Cowgirl golf team represented in the tournament.
The OSU women's golf team wrapped up its fall season in San Marcos, Texas at the Kissing Tree Invitational. The tournament is an individual event and included golfers from Big 12 rivals such as Baylor, Texas Tech, and TCU. Cowgirls Maya Stark, Liana Bailey, Rena Tadamatsu, Haley Jones, Angelica Pfefferkorn, and Isabella Fierro competed for the Cowgirls. Bailey won the tournament to earn the first victory of her college career, and it was a victory for the record books. The Cowgirl Junior finished at 202, the second best 54-hole score ever by a Cowgirl. She is second only to Fierro, who finished the Invitational in second place at 203. Fierro, a sophomore and All-American, finished in the top 10 at every tournament this season. Although they can be competitive among each other, Fierro says her teammates' attitudes and hard work contribute to her success.
I think what it makes us special is that we have different personalities that we match perfectly. And even though someone's having a bad day, we got each other's back all the time.
Even though Cowgirls such as Fierro and Bailey have performed extremely well this season, head coach Greg Robertson says there's still some improving to do before the spring season.
If we can get better with our wedges, get better, a little bit better with our short game, particularly putting, make a few more putts, that's really what's going to make the biggest difference, in the spring if we can do those things.
The Cowgirls finished in 7th and 3rd places in the team events this fall season. They tee off the spring portion of their schedule at the LTWF Heroes Tournament in Sarasota, Florida on February 7th, 2021, followed by 4 more tournaments before the Big 12 Championship. For the Daily O, I'm Taya Sappington.
Thanks, Taya. Like she said, the Cowgirls will start their spring season at the LTWF Heroes Tournament on February the 7th. We're approaching Week 9 in the NFL season, and playoff teams are starting to stand out in the league standings, and the same is happening in fantasy. There are only a few weeks remaining in most fantasy leagues, so finding your perfect playoff roster will be key. But not to worry, Blake Broadhurst is back this week with another edition of the Fantasy Football Weekly Roundup.
Welcome to the Fantasy Football Weekly Roundup. I'm your host, Blake Broadhurst. Let's jump right into the first segment, Start 'em and Bench 'em. My first major start this week is Cardinals running back Chase Edmonds. Edmonds is now slated to be the featured back now that Kenyon Drake is down with injury. Edmonds finished last week with a big game on the ground and through the air. He finished with 5 carries for 58 yards and 7 catches for 87 yards for 21.5 points. As Kyler Murray is able to spread the defense out with the threat of his passing game, the run game should be wide open for Edmonds. My next major start is Ravens running back J.K. Dobbins. Dobbins had a massive week last week in the wake of Mark Ingram's injury. He finished with 15 carries for 113 yards for 13.1 points against one of the top defenses in the league and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Dobbins is playing another tough run defense in the Colts this weekend, but as he is playing the majority of the snaps, I expect him to have a big week. My final major start this week is Giants wideout Sterling Shepard. It might be a risky move to start a New York Giants player on your team not named Saquon Barkley, but Shepard is coming back from injury with vengeance. He has quickly turned into Daniel Jones' favorite target through the air in just 2 short weeks. He finished last week with 8 catches for 74 yards for 15.4 points. Expect him to have another big week as he continues to recover from his injury. Now it's time for the players you should probably leave on your bench this week. My first bench is Dolphins quarterback Tua Tagovailoa. Tagovailoa has had a lot of hype around him since he first started at Alabama. Last week was his NFL debut, and it left much to be desired. He finished throwing 12 for 22 for 93 yards, a touchdown, and a fumble for only 5.7 points. He looked completely uncomfortable in the backfield and almost confused on the field. Until he is able to fully get his feet under him, I would leave him on your bench for your team. My next player you should leave on your bench is Giants running back Wayne Gallman. There is some excitement around Gallman being a potential starter in your league due to Devontae Freeman being out and Gallman scoring back-to-back weeks, but I advise you to leave him on your bench. This past week, he split a lot of snaps with backup running backs Dion Lewis and Alfred Morris. This is cause for concern because that will limit his touches as well. He finished with 12 rushes for 44 yards and a touchdown for 13.2 points last week. But you have to hold your horses. Leave Gallman on the bench, and you will thank me later. My final bench for this week is Denver running back Melvin Gordon. Gordon has been a good start recently because Philip Lindsay has not been playing, and Gordon has been playing the vast majority of the snaps. Well, that's all coming to an end because Lindsay is back, and that means less touches for Gordon. Gordon has only played one full game with Lindsay in the lineup, and he finished with only 47 total yards. Last week he had 8 rushes for 26 yards and 6 catches for 21 yards for 10.7 points. Leave him on your bench until he proves to be the featured back. Now it's time for the weekly waiver wire, where I tell you who people are sleeping on in the NFL today. My first big pickup this week is Lions wideout Marvin Jones Jr. Jones Jr. finished with 3 catches for 39 yards and 2 touchdowns last week for 18.9 points. He is a major red zone target for Matt Stafford, who is finding his groove. Jones Jr. is owned in 79% of leagues, so make sure you hop on that. My next major pickup is Washington tight end Jordan Reed. This is a bit of a risky pickup as Reed is coming off the injured reserve, but George Kittle is going to the injured reserve. Last time Reed filled in for the injured George Kittle, he finished with 7 catches for 50 yards and 2 touchdowns for 24 points. Reed is only owned in 19.3% of leagues, so he is most likely available to be picked up this week. I would leave Reed on your bench until he fully proves himself, but he is a low-risk pickup with a ton of upside. My final major pickup this week is Eagles wideout Jalen Reagor. Reagor has been on the injured reserve for most of the season, but now that he is back on the field, he's made himself a top 2 target on this Eagles pass attack. Last week, Reagor was targeted 6 times and caught the ball 3 times for 16 yards and a touchdown for 12.2 points. He almost had a second touchdown as well, if not for a crafty DB making a play. I would also leave Reagor on your bench this week, but he is worth adding to your roster because of his high ceiling in this Eagles offense. Well, that's all for my Fantasy Football Weekly Roundup. Tune in next Friday to see my weekly Stardom and Bench'em, as well as the weekly Waiver Wire. For the Daily O, I'm Blake Broadhurst. See you next time.
Thank you, Blake. I really wish I had done a fantasy season this year. Really make me lose focus on the Vikings. Anyways, on to some happier news. The NBA is finally closing in on a start date for the 2020-2021 season. The NBA Players Association Board of Representatives voted yesterday to approve a motion to begin the season on December the 22nd. This is a big step for the league as they start preparation for the offseason, which includes free agency and the draft. The draft is currently scheduled for November 18th, with training camp for teams starting less than 2 weeks after. It is not official yet, but it is expected that players will accept the terms. The season will be 72 games, including a Christmas Day lineup of games. The big thing here is the money. The league lost millions in revenue, and the league will continue to work with the players on a collective bargaining agreement regarding revenue splitting. The deadline continues to be pushed back. That's it for sports tonight. Thank you for tuning in to the Daily O today. Make sure you follow us on social media at @TheDailyO_TV. You can also watch our show on Roku, Amazon Fire Stick, Apple TV, and on Suddenlink Channel 112. For the Daily O, I'm Karsten Melton. We'll see you back here on Monday. Have a good weekend.
Hi everybody, my name is Emily Shooping. I'm your marketing coordinator for the Made in Oklahoma Coalition. I'm coming to you with an amazing opportunity. We are teaming up with the Ocali Media Group at Oklahoma State University. We want to tell your story on the following platforms: streaming, newspaper, and digital. This opportunity will not only allow your story to be told locally, but nationally as well. I am so excited for each of you to join in on this tremendous opportunity. This will not only be good for your business, but it will be good for our great state of Oklahoma. You can be expecting an email from me soon with more details about this opportunity. Local has a name, local has a face, local has a flavor. The Made in Oklahoma Coalition.